Last year, one country moved more than $80 trillion without a single swipe of a credit card. Not 80 billion, 80 trillion. That's larger than the entire economy of the United States, and it didn't run through Visa. It didn't run through Mastercard, and most of it didn't touch a bank card at all. It ran through two phone apps that more than 90% of a billion-plus people open every single day. And here's the part nobody tells you. China didn't sit down and plan this. There was no grand national strategy to build the biggest payment system on Earth. It was built almost by accident, out of a trick to beat eBay, a Chinese New Year marketing stunt, and a government that let two companies run wild right up until the moment it didn't. This is the story of how the world's largest payment system got built so quietly that most of the West still doesn't understand how it actually works. And once you see the 4 decisions behind it, you'll realize the country with the most advanced financial sector in history got completely leapfrogged by a system that runs on a piece of paper with a QR code printed on it. Let's start where it started. Not with the government, with trust. Rewind to the early 2000s. China's internet shopping was basically broken, and the reason was simple. Nobody trusted anybody. There was no culture of credit card buyer protection like in America. So when you bought something online, the buyer was terrified of paying for a product that never showed up, and the seller was terrified of shipping a product to someone who never paid. Deals fell apart constantly. Each side assumed the other was a scammer. In May 2003, in the middle of the SARS outbreak, with employees literally working under quarantine, Alibaba launched a shopping marketplace called Taobao. And Taobao was in a street fight with eBay for the Chinese market. To win, it had to solve the trust problem that was killing online shopping. The solution, launched in 2004, was a feature called Alipay. And the idea behind it was almost embarrassingly simple. When you bought something, your money didn't go to the seller. It went to Alipay, which held it in the middle. The seller only got paid once you confirmed the product arrived and it was what you ordered. It's called escrow, and it meant that for the first time, a stranger in one province could safely buy from a stranger in another. How new was this? The very first escrow transaction only happened because Alipay employees personally promised to cover the payment out of their own salaries if it went wrong. That's how nervous people were. But it worked. Trust unlocked spending. Taobao crushed eBay in China. And the little payment feature bolted onto a shopping site quietly became the thing people actually came for. That's pillar 1, and it's the one everyone misses. The payment system didn't start as a payment system. It started as a trust machine inside an app people already used. Hold on to that, because it's the whole secret. By 2011, Alipay had connections to over 200 banks and had basically won. Game over. One winner. Except it wasn't, because of what happened on one night in January 2014. That night, a messaging app called WeChat, think of it as China's version of texting, social media, and group chats all in one, used by over 1 billion people, rolled out a feature for Chinese New Year. In China, there's a centuries-old tradition of giving money in red envelopes called hongbao during the New Year. WeChat digitized it. Now you could send a little red envelope of real money to your family group chat, and your relatives would race to grab a share. It looked like a cute holiday gimmick. It was a financial ambush, because to send or receive that money, you had to link your bank card to WeChat. Over a single holiday, millions of people who had never used WeChat for payments suddenly had their bank accounts connected and ready to spend. The man who built Alipay, Jack Ma, saw exactly what had happened. He called it, his words, a Pearl Harbor attack. And he was right. The next year, WeChat sponsored China's New Year TV Gala, a show watched by around 700 million people, and told viewers to shake their phones for cash. Over 5 hours, people shook their phones 11 billion times. 1 billion red envelopes went out in a single night. So instead of one payment giant, China now had 2, locked in total war. Alipay, built on shopping, and WeChat Pay, built on social. And that war is the reason adoption went vertical. Two of the biggest companies on earth were now spending fortunes to get a payment app into every hand in the country. Which brings us to Pillar 2. And this is the one that left Visa and Mastercard standing outside in the cold. The West built its entire payment world on plastic cards. Cards need card networks, Visa, Mastercard, and those networks take a cut of basically every transaction, plus expensive machines at every checkout. China skipped all of it. It never built out the card and terminal world the way America did. Instead, the whole country jumped straight to the QR code. You've seen how it works. Either you scan the seller's code and type the amount, or you show your code and the seller scans you. And here's the cost that changed everything. A merchant doesn't need a card machine. A merchant needs a printed piece of paper. A street musician in China can take digital payments with a QR code taped to a guitar case. Compare that to the West, where accepting cards means hardware, fees, and a network taking its slice forever. But it goes deeper than convenience. Because the money moves wallet to wallet, settling through your linked bank account, it bypasses the card networks entirely. There's no Visa in the middle taking interchange on every coffee. And that wasn't an accident either. For years, China legally required domestic card payments to run through its own state-backed network, Yuan Pay, and effectively shut Visa and Mastercard out of the domestic market. The World Trade Organization actually ruled against China for it in 2012. But here's the punchline. While Visa and Mastercard spent a decade fighting to get access to Chinese cards, the entire payment revolution had already moved to QR codes that didn't need cards at all. They won a fight that no longer mattered. Pillar 3 is the one people forget is even there: the government. For a long time, Alipay and WeChat were walled gardens that refused to work with each other. Tencent literally blocked Alipay's red envelopes inside WeChat. So China's central bank stepped in and pushed standards, common QR rules, and a central clearing hub that forced these private payment flows to route through a system the state could actually see and supervise. Officially, this made the rails work together. Unofficially, it handed the government a real-time window into how more than 1 billion people spend their money. That's the trade nobody signs, but everybody makes. Total convenience in exchange for total visibility. And Pillar 4 is the state deciding it wanted in directly. In 2019, China's central bank started building the digital yuan, its own official digital currency, designed in part to claw back control of a payment system that 2 private companies had come to dominate. It's now the largest such project on the planet. By mid-2024, it had moved the equivalent of nearly $1 trillion in pilots. The government had watched 2 companies build the future of money, and decided the future of money was too important to leave to 2 companies. Which is exactly where this story turns dark. By 2020, Alipay's parent, Ant Group, was about to go public in what would have been the biggest stock listing in human history, around $37 billion, valuing the company at over $300 billion. Then, days before it launched, Jack Ma got on stage and criticized China's regulators. Within days, he was summoned to a meeting. And then, with the listing essentially sealed, Beijing killed it. Suspended. The Hong Kong leg alone had to refund around $167 billion to investors who'd already put their money in. What followed was a years-long crackdown. Ant was forced to restructure under bank-style rules. Regulators went after the dominance of both payment apps, and by 2023, Jack Ma, the man who built the trust machine that started all of this, had given up control of the company. His voting power cut from more than half to about 6%. The system got so big, so fast, and so powerful that the same government that let it grow decided it had to be brought to heel. So let's zoom out, because the lesson here is bigger than China. The usual story is that Silicon Valley invents the future, and the rest of the world catches up. China inverted it. It didn't out-innovate Western banking. It skipped a whole generation of it. No cards, no terminals, no networks, Straight to a QR code stuck on top of apps people already lived inside. The most advanced financial sector on Earth got leapfrogged not by better technology, but by a country that simply never bothered to build the old technology in the first place. And it all came from pieces that were never meant to add up to this. An escrow trick to beat eBay. A red envelope stunt for a holiday. A government that allowed a duopoly to run until it got nervous. Nobody set out to build the world's biggest payment system. They built a trust machine, then a marketing weapon, then a surveillance-friendly utility, and only at the end did anyone step back and realize what $80 trillion a year actually means. So here's the question worth sitting with. Right now, you probably still pay with a card, and a network you'll never think about takes a small cut of nearly everything you buy. China decided that middleman didn't need to exist. So are cards the future of money, or are they already the past, and the West just hasn't noticed yet? Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you want to see how Brazil pulled off something just as radical with its own payment system, watch this one next.